Alright guys, time for another Patreon request, and this one comes from John McKinney, who asked me to do a Phantasm Courage the Cowardly Dog crossover. So, as always, if you guys would like to have Patreon requests done, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon, where you guys get the third tier. That'll allow you access to do videos here, allow you to do access to all the other stuff on Patreon, the other tiers, tiers 1 and 2, as well as allow you to send requests for videos for me to do here on YouTube. But other than that, hope you all enjoy this, and let's get started. So when you really think about it, Phantasm really fits in the world of Courage the Cowardly Dog. So this is pretty perfect. So let's get started. So the story begins in little farm in the town in the middle of nowhere, and Eustace and Muriel get a letter from in the mail saying that Eustace's great aunt Gertrude is dead. She has passed on, and her family, their presence is needed for the funeral. And the weird thing is, Eustace makes this note of, why are we doing funerals? My family thought it was too expensive to have funerals. And that was that means I gotta get dressed for all that. So Eustace, Muriel, and Courage go to the funeral home, and it's kind of weird because this new funeral home just popped up in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of nowhere, Kansas. So it's kind of weird already that there is a new funeral parlor going on here in the middle of nowhere. And Courage, being surrounded by dead people, is already nervous because he's seen enough dead people rise from the grave. So the funeral procession happens, and as Gertrude's body's being buried, Courage sees this strange tall man away from the rest of the group. Like, he sees this tall man standing and just glowering, waiting, as if he's waiting for the body of Gertrude to be buried. So everyone goes to the, to the wake, after the wake, and, has this gathering. But Courage is curious by the tall man, so he goes back and sees the tall man, digging up the grave and, pulling it out easily, the coffin easily, and putting it into his hearse, excuse me. And Courage, of course, freaks out. He lets out the because the tall man sees him. Now, later that night, Courage is still freaked out by what he had witnessed. He's still pretty shaken up after what he had just seen. But he's just trying to be like, well, maybe he was just a really strong guy who, maybe that's the case. Yeah, maybe he was just really, really strong, and, maybe that's it. Maybe that's the case. Yeah, that's gotta be what it is. He was just really strong, and, there's nothing wrong here. But in the middle of the night, Courage hears a noise coming from Eustace and Muriel's bedroom. And what he sees is them being taken away by the tall man. And the tall man sees Courage and just goes, "Dog!" And Courage again screams horrifically and runs away. But Eustace and Muriel are taken away to the funeral home. Of course, Courage is like, "Oh, I gotta do something, or my name isn't Hingle McCringleberry." And it's not. So Courage has to brave the funeral parlor in order to get back Eustace and Muriel. And of course, as he's getting close to the funeral parlor, to the funeral parlor, he's already freaked out because he's got to be like, I gotta go directly in there and into a place full of dead people, full of a guy who I don't even know what he's capable of. This tall man who I don't even know what he can do. What are his powers? I have no idea what's about to happen, but I gotta go save Muriel, and Eustace too, if I can. So Courage gathers what Courage, his namesake, he can, and goes into the funeral home. He goes into the funeral home, and already he sees just these winding hallways and he's hearing like sounds, like he's already knows that like whatever the tall man is, he already expects it to be like, yeah, I knew you were coming, and I'm gonna, scare the shit out of you. And that's exactly what happens, is that wherever Courage goes, he runs into one horror after the next. Like, he's just opening rooms to try to find Eustace and Muriel, and no matter where he goes, he is literally just beset upon by just multitudes of horror. He even gets into a chase from all of the squished down corpses, the little Jawa squished down corpses, the minions of the tall man. The moment he sees them and he accidentally stumbles into their other dimension, Courage's first thought is, "Ah!" and of course his scream gets their attention, so it leads into a big chase. He even runs into other like undead servants of the tall man, so Courage has to like literally Looney Tunes his way to get past these freaks. And then, of course, here come the balls. There's a sentence I thought I'd never say. But the silver spiked balls of the tall man are being thrown out. Like, they are being sent out on a mission in order to kill Courage. So now Courage has to like play dodgeball with the balls. And if this was animated, if this was an actual cartoon, I would have literally a moment where Courage would put on throw on a baseball costume, uniform, and pull out a baseball bat, and then just hit home run with one of the balls coming at him. Eventually, he does find the tall man, who once again looks at him and just goes, "Dog!" Of course, and he is trying to do the enslaving process on Eustace and Muriel, and he's like, "Muriel, don't worry, Muriel, I'll save you." So Courage has to like avoid being attacked by the tall man, who like keeps reaching and trying to grab at Courage, but Courage keeps like avoiding and evading him until like he actually while he's running around in this embalming room, running from the tall man, he accidentally knocks over a thing of antifreeze and actually hurts the tall man. Seeing that that's a weakness, Courage basically, gets a whole thing of antifreeze and puts it in makeshifts a little like a little antifreeze thrower, and just proceeds to like spray it all over the tall man, like making him wither away and die. So he grabs Eustace and Muriel and quickly races, steals the hearse, the tall man's hearse, and drives back to the farmhouse. And by the end of it, Courage is just like, "That was weird. I don't want to do that again." And Eustace and Muriel are just like, "Oh my, that was quite a crazy dream, wasn't it?" And if you know your Phantasm, you know what's about to happen next, because coming up behind Eustace's chair, it was like, "No, it wasn't a dream." And it's the tall man. He like grabs all of them and pulls them back, leading to Courage screaming into the night. So there you go, guys. That is pretty much the my thing for a Phantasm Courage the Cowardly Dog crossover. Once again, I'd like to thank John McKinney for their Patreon request, as well as continued patronage. And like I said before, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below. Head on over to my Patreon, hit the 3rd tier. There you go. Anyway, other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.